It was 1 before.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
All right.
All right.
So, x equals 1. Who can tell me what y would be?
1.
5 over.
This is me still waiting.
5 over 4.
So, 5 over,
4.
in this case, 4. So, you guys tell me, if the asymptote is at 0, is this graph above in this first quadrant, or is it below in the fourth quadrant?
Below in the fourth quadrant.
In this case, it would have to be, come on, 1.25. You're at 1, and then you're up here. So the graph has to be up there. But from here, it is always going to be kitty corner. Always. They can be off a little bit. It's the generic part of the graph that we're after. So, 3 steps. Who can tell me what's the vertical asymptote going to be?
Hey, I said first.
All right. So, x equals positive 2.
How else are they going to get children to kids?
How did we go through and do the horizontal asymptote? So let x equals 100. So, who can tell me what y would be if you plugged in x equals 100?
3 over 98.
Brad, what was it?
3 over 98.
He says 3 over 98. You guys agree? All right. What's 3 over 98 pretty close to?
0.036.
Again, guys, the asymptote is the approximate. The asymptote is what it's close to. So in this case, you get 0.0 something, which is approximately what? If you have that in your bank account? 0. I said before, the y asymptote is almost always going to be. All right. So now, graph your 2 asymptotes.
It is really snowing out there.
Your other asymptote is at 0. Who can tell me what the test point is that we're going to use?
100. -1.
Yes, Montana.
94.
She says x equals 1. I would agree. So, y equals 3 over 1 minus 2. So you get 3 over -1, -3. Be careful when you graph this. If x is 1, we're down 1, 2, 3. Since that point fell in the lower quadrant. Where is the other value? First quadrant. Has to be. They're always going to be opposite. Always.
Are the quadrants 1, 2, 3, 4? Looks like. Don't they run counterclockwise?
1, 2, 3.
Yeah. 4. Counterclockwise.
Correct. All right. So now we've started to see this. Let's throw a negative in there. Y equals -2 over x plus 3.
He's got a good question. No, he's not.
He was going to ask, where has the first graph always been? It's been in the first quadrant. It's not always going to be there, no. So, who can tell me what the horizontal asymptote is going to be? Rosa? She says -3. Now is it y equals or is it x equals? Yes. Well, how did you pick your x equals -3?
Because it's positive beyond the bottom.
So whatever x is, that's what, it's got to be x equals -3. In other words, guys, you're going to have a test question that says, what is the vertical asymptote? And it's not just going to be -3. It's x equals -3. All right, so that's step 1. Horizontal asymptote. Who can tell me what to do there?
Let x be 100 and then see what it goes through.
Yes, Patrick.
Let x be 100 and see what the graph gravitates towards.
Okay, so Patrick says, let
hover over that.
x be, 100. So you get y equals -2 over 103. What does this come out to be on your calculator? It's the easiest to always use a method.
-1.
Jake, he says negative
Oh, yeah.
0.1. So, negative 0.1. What is negative 0.1 pretty close to? 0. So that's where your horizontal asymptote will be. All right. So you end up with -3, vertical, 0 is your horizontal. Back to what Sumter said. He asked, is it always going to be in the first quadrant? Because every example I gave you so far, it has been in the first quadrant. But a major difference. Those have all been positives, and this one all of a sudden is a negative. So that you don't make a mistake, I suggested that you guys always pick a test point. And we said to let x be 1. So your test point, when I'm over here at 1, are we above or are we below the asymptote? So when you plug it in, what did you guys get for y?
It's the wrong
Bradley.
answer anyways, right? -0.1.
He says -0.1. No.
Try it out.
Yes.
I got negative 2.
She says -2 over 4. Do you guys agree?
No. -5 over 4.
I agree with -2 over 4. It is -1/2. So when x is 1, y is -1/2. Now back to his question. You guys are picking a test point because you don't know where the graph goes. Since one of the points is below the asymptote, all of the points have to be below the asymptote. Again, they are always going to be kitty corner to each other. If it's in the lower quadrant, it's going to be over here in the opposite quadrant. Questions about that?
Wait, so why
Why are you pouring steel over your question?
X equals 1. So see, this is the original equation. So you put 1 into there. So when x is 1, it outputs -2 over 4, which reduces to -1/2. So then we graph that point. When x is 1, y output is negative 1/2. So there's 1, negative 1/2, and you end up with that. Other questions? Bailey?
Is it for, I don't know where is it always going to equal 0?
Is what always going to equal 0?
For, the horizontal.
For today, the ones I'm giving you are always going to be horizontal, is going to be 0. It's not always going to be that way. Brad, what's our assignment? Your assignment today is going to be 10 problems on the board.
Is it, every time I raise my hand, do I get Skittles or something?
I figured it out. What's your question, sir?
It's working.
Your assignment is going to be 10 problems off the board.
What do you do this weekend?
The restroom?
You may go to the restroom.
No, we still not in the office.
Any other questions?
I have a legitimate
Yes.
Why is this? Why is this?
Hurry, 5-second rule.
Why is that the opposite right there? I mean,
Brad, set it back.
okay, you grabbed that. Why is it in the opposite?
Part of it is our goal is trying to find a pattern within this, so we can graph it a quick way. But just to prove to you that it is up there, if the asymptote is at x equals negative 3, I'm going to pick a point over here, x equals negative 4. When I plug it in, I get negative 2 over negative 4 plus 3, so it's negative 2 over negative 1, which is positive 2. So when x is negative 4, it is positive 2 above.
Dude, that's so cool. Okay. That's really cool.
Any other questions? Yes, Brad. It is. Ball peen hammer to the head. Any other questions?
Oh, it shows for damage.
How would you manage that?
Yes, Cody. No, you cannot. Yes, Brad?
How would you manage that?
We were beating up a snowman with hammers when I was about 5 years old. And I was just attacking it. We asked my dad for hatchets, and he didn't think that we should probably be using hatchets. So he handed us 2 hammers, and there's a pile of snow, and we're hitting away on it, and I slip, and my hammer stuck, and my buddy comes down on the top of my head with the hammer. All right, ladies.